nice to see you. That was so neat. Gosh, that song sounds familiar. Can you tell us what that is?
Well, sure. Well, thanks very much, Ashley. It's nice to see you. Yeah, that song is from Charlie Brown, and the name is technically it's called Linus and Lucy, but usually people think of Snoopy and Charlie Brown dancing to it. So I just think of it as Charlie Brown. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's where I've heard it before. Absolutely. Now, what instrument is that, and what instrument family is it from?
Yeah, this is the piano, and it is uh, technically a member of the percussion family, although you could sort of say that maybe it could be a member of the string family as well. And that's because inside the piano, where you can't see right now, there are some strings, but but usually it's thought of as being part of the percussion family.
That makes sense. I think I've heard something about there being a little bit of a debate between the two families and a piano. So what is it made out of? It looks like wood, but I don't know of a lot of woods that are colored like the keyboard. What's it made out of?
Yeah, this most of what you see on the outside of the piano is indeed made of wood. Um, but there are other things inside, and of course there's this part here, and the white keys. There are white keys and there are black keys, and they're both made out of wood, but the white keys have white plastic on top of them, so that's why they're white. But if I press it down, you can see the side of them is actually, well, maybe you can't see too well, but this part is wood. So underneath it's wood, and the black keys are wood as well. And inside there are metal strings, and there are also uh, there are also other materials on the inside as well. But if I had to say one thing, I would say it's mostly wood. Yeah.
But yet it's not part of the Woodwind family. So confusing. um,
Yeah.
so you said, and we just watched you play, when you press down on a key, does something magical happen, or is there like a special thing that happens to make a sound?
Yeah. Well, to make sound on the piano, you do indeed press these keys down. You can press any keys, the white keys or the black keys. You can press several at the same time. Or, but yeah, how does the sound happen? Well, like I said, there are strings on the inside, and each of these keys, in order that they end up hitting the string somehow, and that's what produces the sound. But what actually touches the string are these little hammers, and it's not hammers like you might think of. It's not a hammer like this. It's very different. So the hammers on the inside of a piano are more like really big Q-tips in a way. They're little pieces of wood, and they have felt on the end. And so each of these keys is connected to a little felt hammer. When I press it down, the hammer flings up and hits a string that's on the inside. And there are 88 keys, and each of those keys has more than one string. So there are an awful lot of strings on the inside. But there are 88 keys and 88 hammers as well.
Wow, that's a lot of material. And I kind of got a little bit of a laugh out of the thought of a bunch of Q-tips on the inside of your instrument. I like that. I've never heard that before. So, you said that there were 88 keys. That's 88 different sounds that we could hear. What are some of the higher sounds that you can play and some of the lower sounds that you can play?
The lower sounds are all on this side, on the left side of the keyboard. And as you go from left to right, the sounds get higher. So here's the low sounds. That's the lowest sound on the piano, the lowest key. And then as we go higher, here's the higher ones. And that's the highest note. And sometimes we like to go from low to high, and we can run our fingers like that. It's called a glissando. Or we can go down that was on the white keys, but you can also do it on the black keys, and it sounds a little different.
Wow, those did sound different. That's amazing. You would think they wouldn't, but they do. So I'm just wondering, is there something that you could play for us that's a little bit fast in tempo or speed?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. This is a part of a piece by Frederick Chopin, who was a Polish composer. So in order to play fast, you basically have to move your fingers pretty fast.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I couldn't even follow your fingers. They were going so fast. Could you play something slow for us? That way we can kind of see your fingers a little bit easier.
Sure. I could actually play the same piece a little slower, and this is how I would practice that piece a little bit as I'm learning it in order to play it faster eventually. I can even play it slower if I needed to.
That's amazing that that you start off learning it a little bit slower and then eventually you can go faster. That's so neat. What a great way to learn how to play. So I'm wondering, is the piano able to make dynamic or like volume contrasts? Is that an easy thing for a piano to do, or is it kind of difficult?
Actually, it's a pretty easy thing to do, to play both loud and soft. And in fact, the full name of the piano is called the pianoforte, and those are just Italian words that mean soft and loud. Piano means soft, forte means loud. Over time, it was just easier to say one word, piano. So that's what we call this. But yeah, we can play loud. And you might think of it as like playing with more force and sort of playing harder, but all we're really doing is pressing the keys down faster. And then you can play softer. So I could play that Charlie Brown nice and loud. And then softer. It's like when you play soft, you're being a little bit more delicate with the keys.
Wow, that's so neat. And yeah, I could definitely hear the differences in your loud song and your soft song. Very cool. So I'm wondering, how old were you when you started playing? Because it there are 88 keys there. That seems like a lot to learn.
I suppose so. There are a lot of keys. Well, I started taking piano lessons pretty young, when I was about 6 years old, I think it was. But we had a piano at home, and so even when I was younger than that, I started to just experiment and try out the piano, and I would try to play things that I heard on the radio. My parents both played a little bit, and so they would show me a little bit. So I've been playing piano for most of my life. I've been around a piano most of my life. And I started taking lessons, like I said, when I was maybe 6 or 7.
So, of all the instruments that you could have chosen, what really did it for you with the piano?
Well, I think it was actually that partly that it was around. And so when I was a kid, in fact, it was this very piano. This piano actually had belonged to my grandfather. And, uh, and when I was very young, we had it in our house. And then when I grew up, my parents passed it along to me. So I think that I that it was the only instrument that was around at the time. But I did try out other instruments over time. I think when I was in elementary school, I tried playing the violin for a while, and I also played the trumpet in high school for a little while. But piano, I think maybe because I played it first, was the one that I liked the most, and so it's the one that I still play today.
It's so neat that you were able to try other instruments as well. I have a few students who like to really, stick with recorder and not do much else. So knowing that we can try other things is great. Wonderful.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with trying other instruments. And there's also nothing wrong with deciding that you don't like to play a particular instrument but you might discover that you like one better. And so I think it's always good to try out new instruments if you can.
I agree. Absolutely. So do you spend a lot of time practicing for performances?
I do. I spend quite a bit of time practicing, but it's not the only thing that I do in my life. I have a family and I have a little daughter, and so I can't spend all my time practicing. I teach music classes as well. And so I teach students about music and not just how to play music. We explore how it works and what the notes are and how to put them together as chords. But it does take a lot of time to learn music and to learn how to play specific pieces as you're getting ready for a performance. So I try to set aside at least some time each day. Some days I feel like I've practiced enough, and other times I wish I could do more. Over time, you do a little bit each day, and when you get to the performance, you find that you're ready because you've prepared for it.
So, in addition to playing and teaching, you're also part of the Lansing Symphony Orchestra. Is there any reason why you enjoy playing in the symphony? Anything specific that really stands out to you?
Yeah, I really love playing in the Lansing Symphony, and I think it's because I love playing with other people, and the more people, the better. Because when you have all these great instruments together, you can make such beautiful sounds. You can make, of course, big, loud sounds, or you could also just have certain instruments play together, and you can play beautiful, soft sounds. And I just love being a part of that. I love contributing in my own way to it. And the piano has the piano can play a lot of music just by itself, and I do that. But I also really like playing with other people, whether it's with just a few others or whether it's in a large symphony orchestra. It's a lot of fun, and I find it to be thrilling.
It sounds like so much fun. Is there anything else that you could tell us about what it's like being a professional musician?
I think one of the biggest things that I've learned, and one of the most important things, is patience, and that being a musician and learning music and learning an instrument is sort of like climbing a mountain. You'll get there, but you won't necessarily get there today. If you start at the bottom of the mountain today, you're not going to get to the top today. But if you keep walking and you walk a little ways each day, you'll find that eventually you get there. And some days will be harder than others. Maybe there'll be some steep areas to climb on one day, and other days will be a little bit easier. But you have to keep in mind that what you do today will help you get there. And so with music, what you practice today, you might not be ready to perform it, but what you do today contributes to your preparation. It contributes to be able to play that piece or to play that instrument down the road. So I think that having patience with yourself is really important, and uh, and keeping in mind that you will get there eventually.
Wow, that's such a great way of thinking of it. And I also really want to go climb a mountain now. Oh, neat. I just love the sounds that you were making earlier. Is there something else that you could play for us today? Just one last thing.
Sure, I could play part of a piece by Bach that I sometimes play to warm up my fingers. Um, I suppose I'm playing it to wrap up our interview, even though I usually play it to begin my practice. But I'll play a little bit of it for you now.
I loved how that sounded, and it sounded like your fingers were dancing with each other. That was so neat.
Well, thank you very much. I like playing that piece. It does sort of get all the fingers working a little bit. Yeah.
Absolutely. I can tell why that would be a warm-up song too. Thank you so much, Patrick, for sharing your time and talent with us today. I feel like I learned so much more about the piano than I knew before. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. And thank you for inviting me to do this.